Okay, welcome to the 13th of our journeys down the old Shoreham road to Enlightenment, the world's most open-minded podcast. With me today is Marcella Puppini. She is a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and a founding member of the Puppini Sisters, a three-girl harmony group who perform original work and these wonderful jazz covers of old and modern tracks. They really are an act that, even in these dark times, cannot fail to make you smile. How are you today, darling?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much for doing this. It's an absolute pleasure for me. You've just come back from visiting family in Italy. How was that?
It was glorious. It snowed a lot, and then it was sunny. So we were just taking long walks in the sun and the snow. Just glorious.
What's the health situation like there currently?
Well, in Italy, it's worse because it's worse than here because the Omicron variant started later. So yeah, they're in the middle of it.
Because I know from friends that over there that they took it really hard, really early, didn't they?
Yeah. Italy was the first. Italy was the first country to be hit really in Europe, but then after the initial shock, Italy just followed the same course as every other country in Europe, except now the UK seems to be ahead of Europe with how quickly the variants get here. So when we were going through Delta, Italy was fine, and then it hit them later, and now they're being hit really hard by Omicron, where over here the infection rate is actually going down. So they're just a little bit behind in terms of infection and recovery.
But as a traveler, because I want to travel as well. So as a traveler yourself, how did you find that? Did you have to pay for a PCR test, and how much did you have to pay for that? And what was that like?
Yeah, well, things have changed. I went to Italy in this last summer as well, and I had to pay quite a lot for a PCR test to travel. And then when I got back, the options were much more limited. But I think in the last 6 months, more and more companies have opened up, and more and more centers, certainly in London. So you have so much more choice that it was 10 times cheaper this time. It wasn't really difficult either. I came back quite late as well, so I was there for an extra 2 weeks after the New Year. So when I got back to the UK, it really wasn't very crowded. When I flew over to Italy, it was quite crowded, but it was easy. There wasn't anything. In fact, my personal observation was that in spite of Brexit and COVID, there seems to be very little difference between the way that we can travel now and the way we could travel before, barring, of course, the masks.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I want to ask you, what were some of your early musical influences?
Well, they were quite varied, actually, because my mum was very into David Bowie when I was a kid, and I was, rock and roll. And she always played David Bowie really loudly all day long at home. So I grew up loving him, but I was also really into classical music because I started playing the piano at the age of 5. So I loved classical music. And then around 12, I discovered opera. And for some reason, that really resonated with my little 12-year-old. self, and I got completely obsessed with opera, and that kind of, I guess, maybe helped me get into artists like Kate Bush. I was crazy about Kate Bush.
Oh, wow.
So sort of dramatic and arty music. I got really
a lot. Yeah.
Yes. I would say that those were my biggest influences, and then there's quite a lot of Italian music, especially like older Italian music, like of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I think in those particular decades, especially the 60s, I think Italy went through an incredible period of songwriting, where there were just gorgeous songs and gorgeous interpreters. So it was just, and that really played a role in my musical formation as well. It's the same as the French chanson of those years as well. It was the same in Italy. We had a massive like golden era.
Apart from Maria Callas, like you said, that is a big influence. Who else in around there was an influence apart from her?
What do you mean? Who else in opera, or who else?
Well, yeah, who else in opera apart from Maria Callas was a big influence for you?
It was, well, honestly, at that age, I didn't have any kind of preferences, to be honest. I started getting a little bit more discerning later on. And when I was like in my late teens, I really got into Edita Gruberova. And there's a version of Rigoletto where I think it's Edita Gruberova and possibly it was Placido Domingo, but I couldn't vouch for that. One of the most beautiful versions of Rigoletto that I've ever heard. So yeah, she was a goddess to me, and of course we have a lot of really great singers in Italy, like Cecilia Bartoli, who's been a fantastic interpreter of Rossini.
I have absolutely no idea what you talk about being a Metallica fan, but yeah, I will take your word for it. Tell me about Dead Sex Kitten, which is the greatest band name ever.
Isn't it just? So, well, first of all, the name came. It came from the credits of a B, not even B movie. I think it was a Z movie. That one of my band members once saw, and it was her idea. So the band was basically formed by three of us ladies. It was myself, it was a Swedish lady called Lisa, and a Danish lady called Mette. And the three of us were all working in Soho as bartenders, while I think at the time, I was just about to start working for Vivienne Westwood. So it was just after college.
On that, don't worry.
We're going to get on that. So I was working at this bar in Soho. It was a cocktail bar, so it was open late. It was party central. I lived in Soho at the time, and I was friends with everybody in Soho. And myself and these two ladies became really, really good friends. And we decided to start a band. Now, I was the only one with a musical background. The other two had no music training whatsoever, no real ability to sing or play an instrument. So we basically never, ever performed a gig. We just met up for rehearsal and writing songs and just terrorized Soho. But other than that, we were a band only in name. We were terrible in every respect.
What year was this?
This would have been 96.
Okay, so
no, later than that. It would have been more like 98, something like that.
So what sort of style was it?
Punk.
Okay, but you never played a gig.
Never played a gig.
Oh my
properly
God.
punk, properly punk style. We
Absolutely.
we used to meet up and just I would bash on. We didn't have any instruments. We had a Casio keyboard that was about that big, and I would bash on it, and we would just scream stuff. And we did write some songs. I actually wrote a song that I quite liked called Mae West, that was um, about wanting to forget about my multifaceted personality and just go for the obvious and just forget and not wanting to be hurt. So just putting on this persona that was just sassy and cruel and yeah. So it was a lot of screaming, a lot of bashing, very little musical prowess, and zero gigging.
You came into this interview not expecting to talk about that at all, did you?
I was not.
Okay. So while we're on the subject, tell us about working for Vivienne Westwood.
Yeah, so around that same time, I'd graduated from St. Martin's College of Art in fashion, and I I didn't even apply for jobs. I was even thinking that I didn't want to be in fashion at all. I wanted to be a musician, but I was a bit confused. I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. So I got offered a job because somebody that I knew that they were looking. And so he just came and looked for me because he didn't have my number. And he came and looked for me in every bar in Soho, which is embarrassing because it sounds like I was a drunk. Which at the time I probably was a bit. And eventually found my ex-boyfriend, who then gave him my number, and I got this incredible job. It was just I wasn't expecting it at all. I was basically heading a department, which was the accessories department. So I wasn't a designer. I was like a production manager for all the accessories, shoes, jewelry, bags, everything. I was in charge of all of that. So I was going to Milan to pick out leather. I was just really doing this amazing job, which I then quit because I knew that I never wanted to be in fashion and I wanted to be a musician. So I quit after a couple of years. But those 2 years at Westwood were incredible. And I am still really best friends with so many people that I met.
What was your relationship with Vivienne like?
Well, I was never friends with Vivian. I was friends with Andreas, with her husband. We partied together a lot with a whole group of people. Vivian was at that time in the late 90s. She was very, very, very accessible. Like there were only like 30 of us in the studio. So like she might come downstairs to see what was going on with the jewelry, and then she'd adjust my lapel because I wasn't wearing it correctly. Like she was really like she knew everybody's name, and she had a hands-on relationship with everybody, but we never really talked about business or anything like that. It was just much more casual conversations about this and that.
I have a Vivienne Westwood story, if you indulge me a little bit. So yeah, no, I was working in Waterstones in London, and I randomly walked out of my flat and discovered that she lived around the corner from me, and we went into the same kind of like corner shop, and she kind of shuffled in with her slippers and her very, very unglamorous in her kind of like just kind of like bathrobe or whatever, to the corner shop. And we got talking and everything, and I was like, "You're a big Westwood. I love you. You should be having pistols and everything." And I was like, "Oh my god, I was like working in the bookshop in the central London, and I was like, I have, I would love for you to do a signing at our bookshop in the centre of London, which is in Notting Hill. And I was like, could you come and do that? Maybe. So actually, I need somewhere to kind of do a book launch. And I was like, yeah, you can come and do that. Yeah, whatever. It's like, how much do you want? And I'm like, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to do anything. You just have to kind of come and we'll sell your books and everything. And so we did a book launch, and then she gave me this tie.
Oh, how fantastic.
Which,
yeah, I was thinking that it does look, it's an amazing tie. Oh, yeah, that's it.
And it's got the thing on the day. And for a thank you, she came and gave me this tie. So I wore this tie for you. And I thought I should dress up for you because, I thought, it's you. I should probably dress up. But yes, she bought me. Well, she not bought me. So she brought me this tie as a thank you to the night that she came me to the book launch. And I think it's quite. I don't think there's very many. I think it's quite vintage. So yeah, this was like about the same time. I'm going to give you another story to your first album. So yeah, it was like about the same time. So like it was a big kind of book. It was a big kind of like a book that was like a retrospective of her career.
Was it the book that because I remember that we took part in a book that was shot on a massive Instamatic or Polaroid. It was a Polaroid machine that was about this big. Was it that book?
It wasn't that big, but it was just a normal kind of like big, and it was like a teal sort of aquamarine background, and it had her on it. And it definitely wasn't like the further things, which was like her memoirs, but it was like an aquamarine background, and it was like it was a yeah. So it was about 2005, 2006.
Okay, yeah, that's when our first album came out, 2006.
Anyway, okay, so how did the concept and style of the band originally come about, the Puppini Sisters?
Well, the first idea that came about was that I wanted to do a harmony group because I've always been obsessed with vocal harmony. And in fact, I used to force my brother and sister to be my backing singers on long car journeys. So we used to do quite complicated harmonies, even as kids, 3-part harmonies. So when I graduated from Trinity College of Music, I'd been in a choir in college, in a jazz choir, and I really missed it. So I thought I'd create my own harmony group. And I was sort of kicking around with a few ideas, and I wasn't like, at one point I had this idea that I wanted it to be like in a sort of Kate Bush type of style. And then I saw a movie called The Triplets of Belleville, or Belleville Rendezvous. And it's a French movie with a fantastic soundtrack that was written by a Canadian composer called Benoit Charest. And it's set in vaudeville times. So the music, and it's centered around a vocal group in that style, 1930s, 1940s. And it was an animation movie. And I was completely mesmerized and captured by the style of this group, whom you see as young women and then older. It just completely, I don't know, it really spoke to me. I thought, my God. And at that time, the vintage thing wasn't so mainstream. The vintage scene was very, very small. That style hadn't really been seen probably since the revival of it in the 80s. And I thought, my God, I love this style. This is what I want to do. And the music, of course, I'm making it just about the fashion, but the music, I'd really got into studying jazz at Trinity College of Music. I loved those 1930s and 40s sisters groups. So I just thought there is so much scope for fantastic creativity here. So I put together the group, and it really, really resonated with people immediately. People were going crazy for us. Even like we would open for punk bands. It was so exhilarating to see the reaction that people had to us.
Leading on from that, tell me about Emma and how you discovered this chemistry for close harmony together.
Well, Emma joined us much later. She joined us in 2012. She was just fresh out of music.
Sorry, I meant Kate. Sorry.
Oh, you're talking about Kate. Okay, yeah. Well, Kate and I had we'd been in the jazz choir together. I was in my last year. She was in her first year of the jazz course, and we really got on. It was just the two of us in our section in the jazz choir. We were the tenors because we can both reach quite low notes, and we were always commended on how tight we were. We were the best section of the choir because we were really blending together. We were always together, and we really enjoyed singing together. So it was a no-brainer when I thought of putting together the group. It was a no-brainer to ask Kate. And the third member was someone called Rosanna, who left after about 6 months, but she was one of the founding members of the group. Gorgeous soprano, very much in a Joni Mitchell style, and it was a perfect chemistry because Kay is very funny, and
she's hilarious.
Yeah. So
on your kind of like monthly kind of like chats and everything, she's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. So it was perfect, and we both are incredibly passionate about food and obviously music, but the thing that cemented our relationship between the three of us initially with Rosanna was that they would come over to mine and I would cook these massive lunches, and then we'd mostly eat, and then after eating for hours and laughing and drinking a little bit of wine as well sometimes, we'd just laugh our heads off going through these arrangements because we were learning how to sing in that style. We hadn't really done much of it. So the first few months were just all about howling with laughter while we were trying to get these things together. And that sort of made it so that it was a sisterhood from the very beginning.
But how did the harmonies come together when you were kind of like practicing?
We always write the arrangements beforehand. We don't busk it. So initially it was I who started transcribing. We started just transcribing old arrangements from the Andrews sisters and the Boswell sisters and learning them just to learn the structure and the style and learn. There's so many little tricks, not tricks, but like ways of phrasing and things like that. So we really immersed ourselves in that world by learning their arrangements. And then we started doing our own, and we'd absorbed the language, but we'd still write them down because you get that much more precise if you write it down. It's easier to be precise.
All right, so my original Puppini story, I want to give you this. I was working in Waterstones in London. I was doing kind of like events. We had Dita Von Teese, and a girl that I worked at the shop with us was yeah, I kind of had my, I was kind of like trying to impress, and she was really into burlesque, and I was kind of like into burlesque, sort of, and so we went to see Dita Von Teese at another shop, and then we got our book signed and everything. And she was like, "Hey, you want to go see this band with me?" So I said, "Wow, what are they?" So, "Oh, they're called the Puppini Sisters." It's like, "Oh yeah, well, that sounds cool." What they're like? "Oh well, they're jazz. They do like they do cover versions of everything." And I was like, into metal, rock, and alternative, and grunge or whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that might be cool. So we went down to because I wanted to kind of impress her. So I went down to HMV on Oxford Street to see you
yeah.
at the launch for Bet Your Bottom Dollar, which is a great album. And and, and I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. And we went down there, and I was like, you started playing. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Oh my God, this is awesome. How did I not know about this before? And not long after that, about a week after that, we went to see you at Regent's Park at a place called Fruitstock, which I absolutely have no idea what it was all about, because all we were interested in was going to see you on the stage. And it was just, yeah. So I think we caught you in the part when you were, aside from the girl and what she did and whatever, I think we caught you in the cusp of the at the start of the the roller coaster and the approach of greatness that you did. So how was that period for you in the summer of 2000? It was summer of 2006. So how was that for you?
Well, I mean, for us, it started the summer before, because that's when we had, having been together for just over a year, we went for an audition for Universal. We were playing all around London, and we were doing really, really well, but we went to audition for Universal because they wanted to find the next sensation, and they came to Trinity College of Music. So of course we went to give them a little mini concert, and the A&R guy, you could see from the moment we turned up in our outfits, and then the moment we opened our mouths, you could see the smile from ear to ear. And the thing is that sometimes you've got something good, and we really knew, because everywhere we went, we got the same reaction. People just smiled. And these days, that sound, it's kind of like so many people are doing it, but it's easy to forget that it just didn't exist. It hadn't existed for a very long time. Nobody was doing that 3-part harmony sound, or very, very, very few people. And so everywhere we went, we were meeting with the same kind of reaction. And it was exhilarating, because we just thought, we've got it. We've created something that is I don't know. I mean, we couldn't even define it. We've created something
unique at the time, and
yeah,
we're still unique right now.
Yeah, we have our uniqueness is in the people that are in the band, and the combination of what we all bring to the table, the fact that we're all musicians, and we have the fashion element, and so, but anyway, back then even more so. And the roller coaster was that kind of feeling where you feel the excitement of having created something good, and then you get the reaction from people, and every time it was like, oh my God, yes, it wasn't just in my head. it's true. With what we felt, they're feeling as well. And it was just the most incredible thing, really, even from before the release of the album. And then when we released the album, it was just a whirlwind of interviews. And that's when we started getting a little bit confused, because it's like, oh my God, what's going on? When it all becomes reality, it was almost panic inducing. It was almost like, what have we done? But at the same time, again, one of the best experiences of our lives, really.
I want to talk about image-wise. You were always conscious of having the blonde, brunette, redhead combo. What was the reason behind that?
It really wasn't anything other than the fact that at the time, that's who we were. We had, it just so happened that when Rosanna left, she was replaced by Steph, who is a redhead. And
yeah, that was my Puppini redhead.
Yeah. And that then created a brand in a way, because it was so distinctive, and we've remained like that ever since. But it wasn't, we didn't set out to be like that. It just happened. It was quite fortuitous.
The band has done so much and worked with a variety of different people. What are you most proud of?
Oh, there's so much that it's hard to say. I mean, the most obvious thing that I would say is our duet with Michael Bublé, just because of how sensationally extravagant that was, flying to LA and all the things that we got to do with it. That was amazing. But I possibly actually because that was possibly the most exciting, although there's some pretty stiff competition there because we've done some incredible stuff. But most proud, possibly, I'd say when we played at Ducky in London. I don't know if you know what Ducky is. They call themselves purveyors of working class entertainment. It's a gay night at the Vauxhall Tavern,
okay,
which, it's in a pub, it's a gay night. And this happened just at the time as our album was coming out. It's not just any old gay night. They've been going for like close to 30 years, and they've received a Laurence Olivier Award. Like they are arty, cool, avant-garde, and just anything cool that you can think of, they are it. So naturally we wanted to play there. And in fact, no, this was before our album came out, because the reason that we got booked was because my husband knew one of the organizers, and he was trying to get us a gig. This was early on, and and the organizers were like, why should we book them? It's like three girls. We're booking the biggest names in the performance art scene. Who are these people? I've never heard of them. And he said, well, you should book them because they do a 3-part close harmony swing version of Wuthering Heights. And Wuthering Heights is their anthem song. Now, at that point, we didn't do a 3-part close harmony swing version of Wuthering Heights. It just wasn't in our repertoire at all. So we got booked for a gig there 2 weeks later, and we had to put it together. And
wow, that's where it came from.
Yeah, it was the scariest thing ever, because also, you don't know that it's going to work. You don't know that doing an arrangement of Wuthering Heights in that style is going to work. And and we did it, and we performed, and we went there to perform, and they have a stage and everything, and their audience are the kind of audience that if they don't like you, they'll destroy you. I mean, I've seen them be brutal to other performers, because I used to go there. I loved that club. And we got on stage, and there was a sea of men just looking at us, arms crossed, going, yeah, who do you think you are, and why are you here? And you could see that the attitude, like from the first few notes, first we had a band, we were, all musicians, and then we start singing, and they were like going, what? Like their expressions changed to puzzled, and then they changed to, what? I can't believe they're doing this. And then you can see the smiles, and by the time we got to Wuthering Heights, not a single person was not moving. Everybody was doing the moves with us. By the time we finished playing, I thought I was going to go deaf. The roar from the crowd, I've never heard anything like it.
Wow.
That is my proudest moment, actually. I've never seen anything like it.
But a lot of bands just get that anyway, don't they? Just kind of like, bands kind of like, bands that shouldn't be on before them, and a lot of people are like this. Yeah. Okay, so I love so many of the covers that you do, but especially I like Panic by the Smiths. It's quite a sick and twisted song that you manage to sound sweet and innocent. How do you go about choosing the songs that you cover?
We don't have a specific method. We just think of what songs do we like? What do we think would sound good in three-part harmony, or what could potentially sound absolutely awful, but we're going to try it anyway. So, and we've had some clangers in there, because there's nothing.
Tell us a clanger.
Oh, Welcome to the Jungle was a bit of a clanger. But we're going to revisit it. It will work. We'll make it work. That was a massive clanger, and Purple Rain.
I can't imagine that. Go on.
Purple Rain.
Oh, Purple Rain. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't imagine that. But yeah, if anyone can sort it out, you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we will stop at nothing.
So how do you go about choosing the covers that you do?
Yeah, as I said, it's just whatever we fancy. It really is just no more complicated than thinking, I like that song, shall we do it? Or sometimes I don't really love that song, shall we do it? Because we've done some songs that I don't like.
Like what?
I'm not a massive fan of Dancing Queen. Out of all of ABBA's song, it's not my favorite, but I thought that it might sound good as a salsa number, and I'm not sure that it's my favorite arrangement of ours either, but we still did it and it still worked. So
what other ABBA songs would you like to do?
Well, there's a song by Skepta. Because what other ABBA songs? Oh no, well, we've done an ABBA song. We're not gonna. I love ABBA, but that one is not my favorite. What would be my favorite? Fernando, maybe. No, I'm not sure what my favorite ABBA song is.
Does your mother know? Might work.
Which one?
Does your mother know?
Okay, that is one that I don't know so well. I'll listen
kind of like that, but
the thing is that we wouldn't cover too many songs by the same artist or group. So once we've done one, we move on.
Okay, so Skepta. I don't know him.
Skepta, he's a grime artist. I'm big into grime, and he's got a song called Man. And I mean, we wouldn't get away with doing it because of the language. It's so grime that I don't think that three little white ladies can get away with it. And that's probably why we would do it.
Okay. So touring could be an arduous and undertaking. How do you maintain the glamour on the road? And do you have any survival tips?
We are very demanding when it comes to what is in our dressing rooms. And I'm not talking M&Ms. I'm talking about like healthy salads and fruits and teas and all and enough care items that we can ensure that we're well fed, well watered, and feeling healthy and good. And we always insist on, like, if we're traveling like to abroad then, or out of London and we're staying the night, we always insist on checking in first so that we can go into the hotel and just making sure that we're refreshed before we go to sound check. We have a lot of requirements that aren't outrageous. We're just good at planning so that we can always be at our best, let's say.
Okay. So I was talking to the Sub Girls about fan engagement and support, especially over the pandemic. You guys seem to have got it too, and are rewarded with a very loyal following. What is your secret?
Since the very early days of the Puppini Sisters, we've maintained very close and personal relationships with our fan base. So back in the day, and we're talking 2006, social media didn't exist. Well, or it was the early days of MySpace, but we also had a forum on our website. And the people that were in our forum, the most vocal ones, all became friends with each other, and they all used to come to gigs together as a group, like the most disparate group of people, like 15-year-old girls and a bass player in his 40s. It was just, but they were like a little family, and that sort of created. We set the standard for what we wanted with our fans, and we never changed it. So then when we moved on to MySpace, we continued one-to-one conversations with a lot of people. They've become friends with each other ever since MySpace. So we believe in fostering relationships within our community, and they love it.
Okay, so I personally think that you were robbed of the Christmas #1 with your Christmas song, which was actually called Christmas. It was about Christmas, and it wasn't about sausage rolls. But you didn't really have any hope against the sausage rolls overlords. How was that Christmas song and specifically the video that I really loved at the London Transport Museum? That was you seem to have a great because you did with Panic video as well. You have a really good relationship with the London Transport Museum, don't you?
Well, there's a bit of a secret to that. It's because the director of the London Transport Museum happens to be related to one of us. He's Kate's dad. Oh. So I have to say we get slightly preferential treatment because of that.
But yeah, that Panic video that you've got up there is, yeah, with it all coming off the buses. That was quite cool.
Yeah, I love that. That was at the depot as well, the museum depot. It was just gorgeous. That setting, love it.
What does the future hold for the Puppinis?
We're exploring quite a few things at the moment. First of all, Kate and I have been talking about, and for years, like since day one, we've been talking about doing something to do with food. And for our last crowdfunding campaign, or actually for our crowdfunding campaign for our Dance 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 album, we created a cookery book, like a personalized cookery book. So it was quite special, actually. So Kate and I are going to start a cookery blog with something of we're kicking around ideas, and it's going to be cooking, but also music.
Because she's done some recipes on your YouTube already, hasn't she?
That's right. Yeah, she did it as part of our Patreon. When we were on Patreon, that was the thing that she did. Yeah, and for our live stream last year, we also we did some recipes for people to make alongside us in the interval. So we've done cookery a lot throughout the years, and in fact, we used to have a cookery blog on our very, very first website in 2006. So we're definitely going to do something, and we're bashing ideas right now. Then there's going to be a new album, but probably not this year. It's probably going to be next year. And because of the way that we did our Christmas EP, that's how we're going to work for the new album. I think it's going to be part electronic and part acoustic, like in our style. So yeah, that's the style of album. It's going to have a lot of original material, but also obviously we'll keep the things that the fans know us and love us for.
Okay, so Marcella, shall we finish off with a little game?
Yes.
We're going to call it Mark Suggests Songs That He Likes as Puppini Sisters Covers. I've given Marcella 5 kind of like songs, and she's looked them up, and we're going to give Marcella these songs, and she's going to give us her professional opinion whether these songs that I like and that I suggest could be given the Puppini Sisters treatment. So yeah. First of all, and we'll put I'll put the links down. If you don't know the songs, I'll put them down in the description with everything else. So number 1, Feeder, Just a Day.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the first one that came to my mind. I was like, oh my God. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Bearing in mind that there's nothing we won't try. So I'm saying absolutely now, and it might sound awful, but I think that will work.
I want to give you my honest opinion. If you don't think something works, you say, Mark, that sounds like shit.
Well, honestly, there is one that I think possibly might not work, but
okay,
that one, the Feeder one, is that will definitely work. Anything that has a lot of that, well, anything fast works. You just swing it. So it already almost contains the swing in itself. So yes, that works.
No, tell me more about this. Go on.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about this, the swing.
Well, it wouldn't be that. We wouldn't slow it down. Da 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 da. So I'm going to play it for a second to remind myself because I didn't know it. So, oops.
Get the shot.
No, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to sit through the ad. But
yeah, you can't play it on because I'm putting this on YouTube.
oh yeah, no, I can't. Of course I can't. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it would be that what you just sang, which I can't remember exactly the melody of, but it would be like that.
Okay, number 2, Dresden Dolls, Gravity.
That is the one that I think would work the least, just because it's already in a very retro style in itself. And it would be tough to take it somewhere other than where it is.
Okay, cool.
But we would probably try it.
Okay, Someday I Suppose by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
That one is already quite swingy. So yes, we wouldn't have to do much to it. Because weirdly, a lot of rock and pop songs and, well, not so much pop, but a lot of rock songs already contain an element of swing in them, even though it's not known as swing. So yes.
Okay. These are the 2 that I really, really want to, that I love. No pressure. So yeah, Say Ferris, Super Spy.
Yeah, that's the one that I said, Super Spy. So that is the one that I said would work. Yeah, that's the one that I meant already contains an element of swing. So yes, 100%. That would work.
Cool. So yeah, Dancehall Crushers, Salted.
That one I have completely forgotten now. Based on,
and it had like the 2 girls singing.
yeah, all of these would work, honestly. Yes, it would work.
Cool. So yeah, awesome. So Marcella Puppini, give us all of the things that you want to plug and everything. We're going to give you, all of everything anyway. But
yeah, there's nothing specific that I want to plug other than this year I've decided that I want to get 1 million plays a month on Spotify. So just go and listen to us on Spotify, and particularly listen to our 2 albums that are self-produced and released on our own label. And these are The High Life, in particular, Is This the High Life, which is the title track, and Dance, Dance, Dance. And of course, around Christmas, or if you're the type of person that listens to Christmas music all year round, there's a brand new EP called Dear Santa, I Can Explain.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for doing this, Marcella. Love you forever.
Oh, thank you for asking. It's an absolute pleasure.
Hopefully we'll do this again sometime. Lots of love. See you again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.